you. I want to say to the family, I can't tell you not to cry, because God knows how to take those tears, wash our misery away. I want to say to the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren, Aretha lived a good life, and I thank God that she did not die in disgrace. I'm gonna thank you for how you brought me. I'm gonna thank you because you never left me. I'm gonna thank you for the heavenly vision. I'm gonna thank you for the old time religion. I'm gonna sing. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Hey. Say how I got over. Put your hands on it right there. Hey, how I got over. Hallelujah. How I got over. You know my soul. I'm aware of diadem in the New Jerusalem. I'm gonna walk me some streets of gold in the homeland of the soul. I'm gonna view the host in white. As they travel both day and night, coming up from the heavenly nation, on the way to the great coronation. Oh, I'm gonna sing, hallelujah, oh, shout, yeah, you know my soul. Yes, I did. So I tell him thank you, thank you, Lord, thank you, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Lord, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Lord, I made it over, thank you, she made it over, thank you, no more sickness, no more dying, no more crying. She made it. She made it. She made it. I say, Jesus, Jesus, there's power in His name. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Oh, yeah. Jesus, Jesus.
somebody she made it over. Tell somebody she made it over. The one and only Pastor Shirley Caesar and Tasha Cobbs. Give God praise for them again. I present to you at this time the people's judge, one who always had the back of Miss Aretha Franklin. It was at that time when the press came after her, when her home had caught on fire in Bloomfield Township, and they were making some other accusations, and it was the people's judge. He wasn't even on TV at that time, Greg Mathis. He called me at that time and he said, Bishop, we need to call Reverend Holly and we need to call a press conference because we need to take the press to task for Miss Aretha Franklin. Give God praise for one who had her back, Judge Greg Mathis. He'll be followed by Reverend Dr. Jim Holly, who will be followed by Brenda Lawrence, and then the Reverend Donald Parsons. Let's receive them in this order.
Thank you, Bishop. As you heard, we call him first. Give a big hand to Bishop Ellis. Brought my program up here. Tyler Perry tried to buy it, so I wouldn't sell it to him. I better keep it in my hand. Isn't this a great privilege to be able to participate in the homegoing of the woman who has been named by every credible source as the greatest singer of all times? Isn't it a great privilege? God has blessed us to be here. You know, I met Sister Aretha back in the 80s. Around the Jackson campaign. I met her through Reverend Jackson in the 88 campaign, and later on with Mayor Coleman Young, when I was working with him, he made sure that any need she might have, we address it, because she was addressing every need citizens of Detroit had. And then she had Earlene, her sister-in-law, bring me to her events, and we got to know each other a little more. And then once I became a public figure who had a platform to make a difference in the struggle for civil rights and politics. She embraced me as a friend. And my wife and I would travel various places with her, as some here would. And quite frankly, that showed a lot of strength in her. We all know of the endurance that she has bared through the loss of her father and her siblings. But I personally observed a different type of strength that she wanted to portray to the public. You know, several years ago, there was a lot of speculation about her health all throughout the country. The radio saying nonsense, things they don't know about. I never asked, and those friends and family of hers never asked, because you knew not to ask. But she wanted to make a point. First, I believe we were in Washington, D.C. when she first wanted to make her point. We were there with one of the honors she was receiving. And so she said, Greg, let's go to lunch. You get your wife and let's all go to lunch. Come meet me at the Four Seasons. I said, okay, good. We're going to go and meet Sister Rhea at the Four Seasons and have us I think it was a Sunday, we're going to have us a great brunch and such. So we're all there. She said, okay, come on, Greg. We get to, I say, Rhea, where we going? She said, we're going to walk a half a mile down to the Johnny Rockets in Georgetown. And we walked to Johnny Rockets, and she didn't stumble a bit, and everybody stopped and waved, and the radios next day had to talk about how she was walking with the strength of a lioness. And then, lastly, we were going to a Pistons game. Indeed, we went to a Pistons game, and Isaiah Thomas, and this is perhaps a few years ago as well, and she wanted everyone to know that the speculation about her health was wrong. And so we went, and we were courtside, and Reverend was with us, or I was with him, or however you want to make reference to it. And LeBron James comes over and speaks to her. We're on the floor. And so she says, I think I want to go and get something from, I don't know whether it was a Coca-Cola or a bite. She said, I think I want to go and get something to eat or a bite or a drink. I said, okay. I thought we were going to all go and just around the stadium perhaps, or send someone to get it. She said, no, I want to walk to the top of the arena. Let these folks know how I really feel. So we proceeded to walk from courtside to the top of the arena to show that her health was better than mine and many of you all who couldn't walk to the top of that arena from courtside. And so she always wanted folks to know her strength. And they cut my mic. Somebody going to jail. Y'all know play that now. Don't go to jail now. I'm gonna take these 60 seconds, but don't get yourself in trouble. But I was privileged to receive her advice and counsel in the area of politics and civil rights. As you all know, that she was deep in that, and she wanted me to use my public life in that manner. And so one time we were discussing some of the many things that we come about, and she asked me about Reverend Jackson. You talk to your buddy, or you talk to the good reverend? That means she wasn't getting along with him. You know, like siblings do. Then a couple months later, I talked to her. Hey, I talked to Jesse. I said, oh, he must be doing what she wants him to do. Oh, yeah, he's on the other side. He's marching for this. He's doing a great job. And so she would call me quite frequently, about monthly, and I, for the most part, had to wait on her call, because the few times I'd call her, I'd get my feelings hurt because her number had been changed. And so I'd have to wait those 2 months or a month or however long before she would call me and give me the new number. But when she did, she always spoke to me about how to use my platform to fight for our people. Indeed, our last conversation, and I probably shouldn't speak on this, but because the governor was here earlier, but our last conversation was about the Flint water crisis. Where we know now that the governor's office ordered that the city of Flint be taken over, they changed the water supply and it poisoned the people. So we talked about how in the last couple of months they stopped distributing bottled water. Have not replaced the pipes, maybe 5%, but distributing bottled water. So we discussed it, and she said, yeah, they've stopped distributing the water, Greg. I said, well, yeah, Sister Rhea, I may have to get on up there and fight again, and such and such. I say, but you know, they got me a little bit last time on television. They said, the judge, you out of order. That's not your fight. Stay on television and he and ha and entertain us. So I said, I don't know, Ree. She said, what are you scared? You're supposed to be from Detroit. What you scared of? So in that vein, her last words to me were taken, and this is the honesty, this is honestly the case. Her last words were taken from the greatest song she's performed. And somehow it made me feel that she respected me, because the words she gave, when I told her, okay, I'll go back up there, she said, yeah, Greg, you go back up there and you sock it to him. So in honor of my sister, I'm going to Flint, and I'm going to sock it to him, sock it to him, sock it to him.
Let the church say amen. Let the church say amen again. My sisters and brothers, we are here today not because Aretha died, but because she lived. I worked 3 days working on my remarks. Shirley Caesar got up and I was shouting. Somebody took my marks. I've been looking for them. Evidently, I just need to tell you, it comes off the cuff. I think it was a great, wise woman by the name of Maya Angelou that said, I think it's still, the words that she said is still the test of time. She said there will be people that you will forget how they make you, how they really, what they do for you. Every now and then you find people that they may do other things for you, but they'll never make you forget how they make you feel. And I think that's true with Aretha. We'll never forget how she made us feel. I'm not going to bother this today with a lot of remarks, along because the bishop has already told us. But I'm very blessed. I'm a blessed man. I'm blessed because I was a friend of Aretha, a friend of this family. I was with this family when her father passed. I was with her, with her 2 sisters, her brother, and I was with her when she passed. I'm a blessed man because of my relationship with the family. I love me Aretha. Let me tell you again, I really love me Aretha. And Aretha loved her some Jim Holly. Finally, I had told my church that I was had to have an operation, a reconstruction of a stroke that I had. And they were basically wanting to do another reconstruction of the surgery. And lo and behold, guess who called me? She had her caretaker, Beverly, to call me and ask me how I'm feeling. That's like 3 weeks prior to this. She was asking me how I was feeling. I said, Aretha, surely that's not, yes, I'm asking you, how do you feel? That's the kind of woman she was. I just want you to know, my sisters and brothers, that we all have different experiences. And we're here because of how she made us feel. But I want you also to know that she's been in some of the most sacred and most profound places in this world. And she never forgot Detroit.
Franklin. I want to recognize my colleagues again that's with me, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty from Ohio, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas. Where is the diva, Maxine Waters, who represents us so well? And my colleague Debbie Dingle was here as well. Sheila Jackson Lee has submitted a resolution to be presented to the family. There are so many accolades and amazing accomplishments that Aretha Franklin
has received throughout her life. I want to talk about a gift she gave me, and I want to talk to every woman in this room. So it's amazing to me she has so many friends, because we all feel like we're the special one, because she made us feel that way. When I got that phone call when I was elected mayor, and she said, "May I speak to the mayor?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Hello, this is Aretha. I want you to know how proud I am of you." And she said, "I'm having an event and I want you to come." I said, "No, wait a minute. Who you say you are?" And she said, "Aretha." And she said, "The event will be," I said, "No, excuse me, ma'am, but you mean Aretha Franklin, like Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin?" And she said, she chuckled, she said, "Yes." I said, "Oh my goodness, anywhere you want me to be." But from that moment on, having the opportunity to talk and to see her perform her art, to see her love her family, oh, her grandchildren. I had to listen to about how great and amazing you are. I want every woman in this room, because someone said, "What do you take away from Aretha?" Here's a woman who had accomplishments more than anyone I have known. And she called me, the little black girl from the east side of Detroit, to say she was proud of me. So to every woman in this room, it's about a woman being strong enough and confident enough to put her arms around other women. It's also about, when you listen to her lyrics, and she went through life, she lived life. And when you live life, life has moments where it's not very kind. She never gave up. She stood up, she had dignity, she had the thing that she demanded. And they keep playing this clip. Everybody wants to be respected. I am so proud to have known and to share my life with the amazing Queen. To honor her, Kamala Harris, Senator Harris, called me, and we're talking, said we have to do something. So on the Senate side, she introduced the gold medal, the Congressional Gold Medal. And on the congressional side, I introduced the Congressional Gold Medal. Now I want you to know how amazing it is. The people who have received this, like Robert Kennedy, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, and the first one went to George Washington. The Queen deserves this gold medal, and I'm honored to give it to her. I love you, Queen.
God bless you. It's a wonderful time to celebrate the life and times of Aretha. My reason for standing here is because Aretha was an awesome individual. Aretha the unique, Aretha the incredible, Aretha the incomparable, Aretha the rarest gem of all, with amazing abilities to make all of us feel exceptionally special. She was a special person. I've always felt from a lot of years a part of this family. I met Aretha a couple of years ago when I was 17. What happened? It seems like only a couple of years ago when I was 17 and met Aretha after one of those youth days on Fifth Sunday at New Bethel, way back in the day with Sister Lucille Lemon and Thomas Shelby and Pastor C.L. That was a whole lot of years ago. I felt a part of this family since that point. I had a lot of meals at the Queen's house. When I wasn't there, I was over at Cecil's eating Earlene's croquettes. awesome times with this family. I'd look up a lot of sons, and Eddie had sneaked over from Detroit over to Chicago to church. Get him back and put him on the bus and send him back home after church was over. This family was my family, but Aretha left a tremendous legacy, a legacy of unique skills and abilities, the way she nuanced the notes and cajole of the words and the lyrics, her ability to move at any register and shape the tone to her own voice and take ownership of the song was an amazing skill. There was absolutely no one like Aretha. She was our musical therapist. With the fingertips of her melodies, she touched our passion, our pain, and our protest. She had this unusual ability to take you to church no matter where you were. And she'd find a way to get you to church, whether it was I Never Loved a Man or Do Right Woman, it didn't matter. Before it was over, Aretha was going to say, the doors of the church are open now. She had that wonderful church feeling in her soul. There was no one like her, and I don't believe there will ever be another like Aretha. She left us all, we believe, too soon, but she gave us enough to make it on in her absence, and we've got to thank her for that. The celebration is amazing, but when the celebration is over, I can tell that some of you are going to have moments when you're going to find yourself at a place and time of reflection, and those moments are going to challenge your emotional strength. And I thought that a lot of other people will come and they will continue to augment what we already know about Aretha. But for her global fan family and for the families situated here in this room today, I'd like to just give you a little medicine for your mind and a strategy for your grief. I think it's important that you not just leave here with memories of the celebration as the only echoes of Aretha's presence, because many of us have not found out yet how to manage our misery. And I thought I would just give you a few pointers along the way, if it's okay. I first want to just suggest that most of us have spent so much time thinking about living, we've not thought about dying at all. And so I'd just like to remind you that sleep is a death you wake up from every morning. And death is a sleep you'll have to be resurrected from. I just thought you'd like to know that God has given us the ability to share intimate moments with people we find a part of our genetic pool, and we're bound together by commonality of blood, personality, and family roots. Thank God for all of this. But at some moment in time in life, these earth suits we have, just like a person needs a space suit to escape the atmosphere, you cannot survive in the genetics of our own atmospheric conditions without an earth suit. And at some point in time, you will have to give up the earth suit, because after all, we are only spiritual beings having a human experience. And I thought it would be important if I just told you a couple of things to put you at ease. Death, one, is the admission we pay for living, except we pay on the way out instead of on the way in. What I'd like to tell you is this. First, death does not hurt, life does. Scoot your chair up and stay awake. Death does not hurt. Dead people don't cry. Dead people don't have pain. Thank God that God has given Aretha the freedom she needs to soar. After all, you'll remember, and I remember, that Aretha had phobias, and we discussed it about flying. She took a lot of lessons, invited me and a lot of others to come over and get on that flight with her from Metro Airport, and then she changed her mind. I remember that, but I'm here to tell you she's lost her fear of flying today. She's no longer afraid to fly. Matter of fact, I've simply come to tell you, I know that we've spent a lot of time saying she's departed, but I've come to tell you she's had a status change. She's no longer with the departed, she's now counted among the arrived. So whatever you do, don't play that departed song no more, because she's arrived. Well, how do you know she's arrived, Pastor? The scripture says to be absent in the body is to be present with the Lord. Let me tell you these three things before I use my time allotted. Death does not hurt. Life hurts. So don't have any fears or any apprehensions about Aretha's state of mind. She's free from hurt at this moment. And authentic love has a desire for the one who is loved to have what is best for them and not what is best for us. We've got to want what is best for Aretha. Secondly, I would tell you that the people who leave us are happier than the folk they leave behind. She's excited about where she's gone. And the only reason you are not is because perhaps you've never read the brochure. If you'd read the brochure, then you'd want to go where Aretha's gone. Finally, I would say to you, she has not gone to some place. She's gone to someone.
Reverend Dr. Donald Parsons, the one and only. At this time, while we're ready and preparing to receive the music ministry of Shaka Khan and Ronald Isley, I want to just bring Mother Fanny Tyler up quickly. Mother Fanny Tyler. And listen, God bless Miss Aretha Franklin to rise to an astronomical height where she has met all kinds of individuals, including presidents of the United States, kings and queens. But she never forgot those individuals who she counted on back at home. This is Mother Fanny Tyler. This is the one that Miss Franklin trusted to send her messages. This is the one that Miss Franklin trusted to deliver the mail. This is the one that Miss Aretha Franklin wrote checks to and gave to, and she delivered to many of us. When they called me and would tell me that there's a Fanny Tyler at the front desk, I say, send her up. Because I know she didn't want no counseling. She had a check from the Queen, $10,000, $5,000. She'd hand me that envelope and say, the Queen says she still hear them joy bells. Keep on doing what you're doing. The last time she came and blessed me about 6 months ago, she had 2 envelopes. I said, Lord Jesus, the Queen is being very generous. She gave me the one, it was $10,000 in it. And my dad always sang that song, Joy Bells, and she always said, I still hear them joy bells your father sings. And I said, well, what's that other check for? She said, that's for your brother. There's $5,000 in there. I say, he don't hear no joy bells. This is the one and only that Miss Franklin would trust with her checks to deliver, to bless people, benevolent causes, churches, pastors, students that needed tuition. This is the mail lady of Miss Aretha Franklin. I want you all to stand and give Mother Fannie Tyler a great big hand.
Evening, afternoon. I'ma tell you now. Anybody asks you where I'm going, where I'm going soon. If you wanna know where I'm going.
to you next one as Miss Franklin, who has had the staying power through decades. Although he's not as popular as Miss Franklin, he had to change his name to keep staying power. He went from Ronnie Isley to Mr. Big. Aretha has been on top for decades with the same name. Brother King, there's only one queen. Put your hands together for our own Ronnie Isley, Mr. Big.
Lord have mercy. You know, Aretha, she would ask me, what you gonna sing? I say, well, I'm gonna sing something soft or something. You know, have you ever heard the Clark sisters? Lord have mercy. And I just the celebration here tonight is just, ooh. I should have brought the brothers here. I should have brought the band. Maybe we do some shouting, something. All right. She would always talk about Karen Clark, Shirley Caesar, all the time. For 60 years. 60 years. She loved you. She would talk about Karen so much. And I don't think Karen knows this. She would say, we're going to do a record together. And we're going to do the next record together. I would try to suggest songs. But let me go on this thing. Why should I feel discouraged? And why? Why does the shadows all come? No, why does my heart feel so lonely, so lonely? Long for heaven, oh, my home. When Jesus is my portion, oh yeah. Oh, a constant friend is he. Oh yeah, Shirley. His eyes, his own sparrow, And I know he watches me. And I sing because you know I'm happy. Oh, I'm happy. And I sing because oh, I'm free, free. His eyes is all on the sparrow. And I know, he watches me. He watches me. Oh, his eyes is on the sparrow. Sparrow. I know. He watches me. Ah, oh, oh. He watches for you. Oh. Forgive me. I love you. Don't say. Thank you.
Brother Ronnie Isley, come on and put your hands together for him. Miss Franklin, when she decided to move back into Detroit, she moved back into Detroit in the early 90s on the Detroit Golf Club course. And her home still stands as 4 doors down from my dad's house and our family home. And Miss Franklin, whenever she was giving her holiday parties at that home in Detroit, she would invite my dad, Bishop David Ellis, to come down and to pray a prayer that everything would go all right. And she would give him a carry out and send him back home up the block. Reverend Jesse Jackson got to stay for the whole party. I told him that the other day. He said somebody had to make sure everybody could get home. He has been a champion for civil rights down through the years. We know his health is not what it used to be, but for all that he has done down through the years, sometimes working and not receiving anything for it, standing on the front line and standing on that wall, I think we should all stand and receive this giant of a warrior for the urban community, for those who cannot speak for themselves. Receive the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. He'll be followed by the Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II.
Pray. This celebration was not a party. Aretha's not lost. We know where she is. Be in the mood of prayer and thanksgiving. Our God has blessed us to witness a powerful expression of his goodness today. Aretha was on this battleground for 60 years. Bow heads in prayer. Accept our petition, dear God. Search our hearts, you know our ways, make us better, never bitter. Move fit for the journey. Thank you for Reverend C.L. Franklin. Thank you for Aretha, Irma, Carolyn, and Cecil, bringing them our way. For the joy of their gifts, lessons they've learned, and lessons they've shared. Somehow let us leave this place today better off than when we came. We fall down, we get back up again, because the ground is no place for champions, and so we rise to higher heights. Amen. I was asked by the family to give some personal reflections. Known Aretha almost 60 years, a lot of reflecting. I want Sabrina to stand again after these months of decline and going down the hill. The one who put all this stuff together has been Sabrina. Give Sabrina a big hand, would you please? I visited her at least once a month, and every time I was there, Eddie would be by the door as a bodyguard. He was her son. Eddie, stand again. Give him a big hand. Cousin Brenda. Son Brenda, just singing, Sarah. Earlene, give another big hand. For these, no one's been more consistent than Will. Give Will a big hand. Give Will. Will has been, stand up, Will. He's been a trooper. I also want to, in the pastoral sense, thank the funeral home. Aretha was very sick toward the end. I was suspect that we should not open the body. But this funeral home, the Swanson, they've done a tremendous job. A big hand for O'Neill Swanson and his family. Big hand for O'Neill Swanson and his family. And last, we can't thank her too much for she's among the living yet among us. Another hand for Maxine Waters. Maxine, stand again, please. Three of my children are here today because this is a family affair. My son, Jesse Jackson Jr., and Santita, and Dr. Jackie Jackson. Detroit lines for voting, something is missing. To many of us from the Deep South, before internet and before the nightly TV shows, before Dr. King and Rosa Parks, that was Jet Magazine, the National Black Newspapers, and WLAC Nashville, Tennessee. Every Sunday night at 11 o'clock, Big Horse Allen from Nashville would put on an hour of C.L. Franklin. He was our hero. The traditional sermons, Eagle Serves the Nest, Prodigal Son, In the Conflict. He said, tonight I'm not going to preach, I'm going to introduce my daughter and she can sing. It's not just my daughter, my daddy pin, she can really sing, so hear me. And really sang, Never Grow Old. Reverend Billy Kyles, whose home Dr. King was on the way to visit when he was killed, was doing a revival in New Bethel at that time. He gave the words to Aretha. I've heard of a land on the faraway strand. It's a beautiful home of the soul. Build this Jesus on high where we never shall die, a land where we'll never grow old. It was a dark Sunday night in South Carolina, yet when it's real dark, the stars shine most clearly. That night a star was born. Somewhere between Nashville and eternity, we heard a voice from heaven, 14 years old. Aretha was our queen. She belonged and belongs to us. She was blessed to have the powerful gift of singing, perhaps the most remarkable voice, unique the world has ever heard. Arturo Toscanini, the Italian conductor, said of Marian Anderson that a voice like Marian is heard once in 1,000 years. Aretha's in that zone of once in 1,000 years. And she did not shy away from Ave Maria. From that point on, she only required to be called Aretha. Reverend Franklin sent her to school, and she took music lessons and cultivated in the warmth, in the womb of the most soulful singers of our time. New Bethel, Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers, Clara Ward and the Ward Singers, Mavis and Pop Staples. These are her. She came out of that womb. Lou Rawls and the Pilgrim Travelers, Madam Moss Clark, Ira Tucker and the Dixon Hummingbirds, Alex Bradford, Too Close, Sister Houston, Whitney's mother, sang in the background, the Winans and Reverend Craig, the Gospel Harmonettes, Mahalia Jackson, Dinah Washington, the Canton Spirituals, the Mighty Clouds of Joy, and Joe Ligon. Reverend James Cleveland directed the choir at New Bethel. Aretha came out of this womb, Reverend Gaither and Reverend Clay Evans. She had the gifts, but she had an environment that loaned itself to her developing. She was baptized in singing, struggle, and service. In 1942, when she was born, not in Detroit, she was born on the Mississippi River in Memphis, Tennessee. The river that carried our people up and down for 246 years. Where does Aretha's soul come from? The Mississippi River. And it's cradled between Tennessee and Arkansas and Mississippi. 233 blacks were lynched in Tennessee, 492 in Arkansas, 654 in Mississippi. She was 13 when Emmett Till was lynched. What does her civil rights commitment come? She had money and could not buy ice cream. Had a car and could not stop to buy gasoline. Aretha came out of the bowels of our struggle. Her father led the big march in Detroit, 1963. Laid the groundwork for Dr. King, who stayed at his home until March on Washington. Along with Harry Belafonte, Dr. King was facing bankruptcy. We couldn't go any further. Where was the money coming from? We couldn't get from the banks. Black banks were too small, white banks were very hostile. And so Rita and Harry Belafonte said, we'll take an 11-city tour, raise money and give you the money. But Dr. King was so unpopular, was under such attack, we couldn't fill up an auditorium this size with Aretha Franklin and Harry Belafonte. We stepped on the stage in Houston, Texas. On that stage, they put tear gas in the fan where they evacuated the building. She kept right on singing. She sang for Carter, Mandela, Clinton, Obama. But she felt as comfortable singing for Albertina Walker. Because after all, before we had this level of technology, there was Albertina Walker and Shirley Caesar and Cassetta George in the same group called the Caravans. I was called last week to see Aretha. I've met with her at least a month for the last 3 years. She called late at night. Jackie would say, get the phones. Aretha's on the phones. We're talking 2 to 5. We'd pray a while and cry a while. When I came last Wednesday, Aretha was in a coma and had not been able to wake up or move in some days. And I was with Earlene. And I said, Reed, wake up, baby, wake up, baby. She opened her eyes. I rubbed the warmth of her hand one more time, kissed her on the forehead and said, it was a hard goodbye. We came back that night with Sabrina and had another prayer meeting with her. Her father's records were playing in the background. I thought as I left the last time, Shakespeare said, when she shall die, take her hand and cut it up in little stars, and she will make the heavens so fine that all the world will be in love with night. Aretha had the power to make the film directors cry. She touched all of us in a very deep and profound kind of way. As she got sicker, we would talk more and more. She would call late at night, and are you coming? I said, yes, I'm going. You can bring Greg, and I'm not going to bring Greg. I don't really bother Greg. Inside joke. We went to 4 or 5 hospitals, and she was fighting this cancer thing. And to cap off singing in service, she went to New York knowing that she had pancreatic cancer. She went there in a bus to help Elton John and the AIDS victims. That is a signature moment in her life. All of her time she had been spent seen on her own situation, and yet she was there. She asked me to give her our favorite testimony. It was that when I was a kid, grew up in South Carolina, and I wonder why she would always talk about saying never grow, never grow, never grow. Archie Brownlee, a great singer for the blind boys, sang "Oh Why." Archie came on his last trip and said, I'm drinking liquor tonight. I'm not an alcoholic. But I have the 4th stage of cancer. And I don't have any insurance. The liquor is anesthesia for my pain. And so y'all forgive me for drinking, but I don't mean to disrespect you. And he had this dog shades on his tap. He said, well, let me sing a couple of songs for you. He said, I know you're concerned that I'm drinking. I'm not a drunkard. I'm just drinking for pain. He said, but y'all talk about blue skies. I was born without eyes. I've never seen a blue. red rose. I've never seen a rose. I can touch it. My wife is beautiful. I've never seen my wife's face. I know by the contour of her face. And my children, I know them by the sound of their voice and the pat of their feet. But don't feel sorry for me because I'm blind and have cancer. I am going across the river. I heard there's a man over there who's giving sight to the blind. He's curing cancer. When you hit that point in your life where the man is more over there than over here, a few months ago, Aretha was very afraid for me when it announced that I had Parkinson's. The older you get, these diseases, they come out of nowhere, it seems. But let me say to you today, who are the living, this is not for Aretha, this is for us. If you leave here today and don't register to vote, you dishonored Aretha. If you've heard all this singing and don't feel something wrong with you, I can only say now, when we met, we were maybe 15 years old. I'm now 77. I'll be 78 in a few weeks. Parkinson's is in trouble. I have the faith. The doctor said Parkinson's will knock you down. It will, but there's a God who's the doctor of doctors. Don't fear these diseases when you're getting ready to change your clothes and move into a different transition. I can say now with a level of certainty I couldn't have years ago. I once was young. I've traveled to China, I've traveled to Japan, I've traveled to the Caribbean, all around the world. Worked with Dr. King, worked with Mandela. I've seen a lot and been a lot of places, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor the seed beg for bread. So sleep on, Aretha. See you in the morning.
We thank God today for this privilege and for God's goodness. I was sitting over there talking to my friend Derek Johnson, the president of the NAACP, and I said also to Bishop Ellis, anyone that can get Bishop Jakes and Farrakhan on the same platform, and Shirley Caesar and Shaka Khan on the same platform, that's some kind of woman. But if we really want to honor them, I said we ought to have one of these after this funeral, just before election. Call all these same singers back, all these bishops back, and all these ministers back, whatever small differences we have, put them aside, and let's have a televised revival and send people to the polls to vote. I'm ready, Bishop, are y'all? We can call it here today in the name of Aretha. The woman who won the popular vote for president invited me to the 2016 Democratic Convention, and I spoke about this heart business. And afterwards, I got a call, and the call said, "This is Aretha Franklin. I'm from Piney Woods, North Carolina. I'm not from the big city, Detroit." I hung up. I thought it was a prank call. She called back and said, "Is this Reverend Barbara?" I said, "It is." She said, "This is Aretha Franklin." I said, "Prove it." She sang, and I said, "Good God from Zion, it's Aretha Franklin." She said, "I've been watching you. You're going to preach my revival in Detroit." I said, "Yes, ma'am." And we became text partners and prayer partners, and we would talk. On January 13th, she sent me a text I'll never forget. I'm working with the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival with Liz Theo Harris. And she said, doing a good job, praying for you. I want you to do my last revival at New Bethel. The next text I got from her was, I'm postponing them. Maybe we'll get them to them till next year. But I need people like you who know the power of prayer to go to the throne. In the book of Kings, the scriptures record that there was a time when the prophets of old could not declare truth and justice until the right singer sang. A certain music was needed to not only set the mood for the moment, but to open up the windows of heaven so God's voice could be heard on earth. Aretha was that kind of singer. She sang, Dr. Dyson, what W.B. Du Bois called the siftings of centuries, the sorrow songs that rose from the rhythmic cries of enslaved people. Du Bois said they are the music of an unhappy people, of the children of disappointment. They tell of death and suffering, of unvoiced longings toward a truer world, of misty wanderings and hidden ways. And yet, Du Bois helped us to see through all the sorrow there breathes a hope, a faith in the ultimate justice of things. The minor cadences of despair are changed into the triumphant major key of calm and confidence. Sometimes it is faith in this life. Sometimes it is faith in death. Sometimes it is assurance of boundless justice in some fair world beyond. But whichever it is, the meaning is always clear. That they sung in a way that said, sometime, somewhere, people will be judged by their souls and not by their skins. When Aretha sang, she lifted the downtrodden spirits and challenged presidents to remember the voices of millions because she sang the hope of the sorrow songs. Her voice was mixed with the joy and sadness, the tears and screams of her people down through the ages. She sang in our key, and she taught the world how to hear it. In Aretha, the holiness of the sacred and the secular came together in a way that could only be ordered by the Lord. Some say that even as the world spins, there is a certain tune to the world's orbit. Aretha tapped into that tune and taught us its rhythm. Somehow she gave you the feeling down on the inside that you were listening, as Dante said so long ago, to the love that moves the sun and the other stars. In the midst of a broken world, Aretha was our preeminent theomusicologist. She specialized in singing that moved the soul, stirred the spirit, and made us aware of a divine presence that could not be denied. And that was no matter where she sang, there was a certain sacredness. To hear Aretha in concert or at a church or on a record or on the radio in a football stadium or at the forefront of the civil rights movement was a religious experience. Whether she was singing gospel, soul, pop, or opera, there was some theos, some God in her musicology. Recently, a brother of mine, Jonathan Hargrove, reminded us Aretha's singing flowed out of an interpretation of the Bible that condensed the collective wisdom of black people's faith rooted in resistance to white supremacy. For Aretha to have a relationship with Jesus was not to have a relationship with Trump, but to have a relationship with Jesus was always to necessarily engage in a quarrel with the systems that oppress poor people and black people and the disenfranchised. This is why Aretha's music did more to transform society in the 20th century than many Americans realize. Before Obama said, yes, we can, Aretha sang, we can conquer hate forever, yes, we can, our holy, holy, oh Lord, we can rock the world's foundation, yes, we can, better believe it, holy, holy, together and holy, holler love across the nation. In the midst of our nation's current moral crisis, we need again that gospel that Aretha sang. So don't put it up, keep playing it. Her singing was both spiritual revelation and skilled interpretation, because she was singing from that sacred place carved from the moans and the music of the ancestors, because she was singing the experience of a people who had to cry in order not to die, because she was singing in the spirit, the Holy Ghost of those who sang in order to be saved. Aretha's singing challenged the dangling discords of hate and lies and racism and injustice. Her singing was liberation and was revolution in the major key. It carved out sacred space wherever she went, from the church to the club to the White House. Aretha showed us how the sorrow songs might yet save America, save this democracy, and keep us from bowing down to the structures of this world. When Aretha sang, the Holy Ghost came. No matter where you were, when she sang, it made you want to get up, not only to dance, but to do something about racism and something about poverty. When she sang, whether it was at a big concert for a civil rights rally or for an inauguration, her singing made you want to fight on a little while longer. Aretha's singing made you want to choose togetherness over division and love over hate. Her singing made you want to vote and to go find everybody you know and get them to vote. And if you don't have that kind of push and wanting to go forward, you really didn't hear her sing. Her singing made you want to stand up and fight back against political lies and policy fraud. Her singing made you say to every system of oppression and to any narcissistic leader, from the State House to the White House, no matter who you are, we will not accept anything less than respect. And if we have to vote to have respect, we'll vote. If we have to stand to have it, we'll stand. If we have to speak to have it, we'll speak. If we have to boycott to have it, we'll boycott. If we got to march to have it, we'll march. If we got to all go down to jail, it doesn't matter, because Aretha told us respect is non-negotiable. And that's why we respect Queen Mother of Soul. That's why the world reveres her, and it's why we will never stop remembering her and will never stop singing her song. And for the worshipers in here, those of you that know the way of the Spirit, if right now you would just tilt your spirit toward heaven a little bit, you will find out she's still singing. Lord have mercy. If she's crossed over to heaven, she's still singing. Now, she did have to go by the exchange counter and exchange her cross for a robe, but then she picked up a robe. Lord have mercy. And she went to sing with the choir in heaven. Can't you hear her still singing? Can't you hear her still moaning? Holy, 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 holy. Lord God Almighty, she's still singing.
Come on, give God praise for these two. Brothers and sisters, receive the music ministry of Fantasia.
I'm gonna sing this one to Miss Franklin. And I hope she don't mind. I don't think she would, but I think I'm gonna come out of my shoes. When you're down in trouble, you need some love and care. Ain't nothing. I said ain't nothing going right. All you got to do is just close meditate on him, and soon he'll be there. God can brighten up, said he can brighten up your darkest hour. Can we take it up a notch? Can we do it? Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand.
That time of year.
A eulogy always